Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amanda Matthews, and I'm the Marketing Coordinator here at Advisicon, and I'd like to welcome you all to today's webinar, How to Leverage Power BI to Build Dashboards and Reports. Here at Advisicon, we are a group of authors, teachers, consultants, and technologists who are passionate about helping organizations learn, scale, and grow with a mix of methodology and technology to deliver results. And recently, Advisicon has stepped into a new area using project management for community involvement by integrating a nonprofit and community outreach department. We offer free bi-weekly webinars that we refer to as Webinar Wednesdays, in which we spend 30 minutes to an hour teaching topics ranging from Microsoft Project, Project Server, Project Online, Power BI, Visio, SharePoint, to project program and portfolio management and methodology approaches. With attending any of our training sessions, we offer PDUs as we're a registered education provider with the Project Management Institute. At the close of today's session, I will give some instructions on how you can claim your PDUs and how to contact Advisicon for any questions you may have. Now, before we get started, I will go over a few things so you know how you can participate in today's event. So if you will please review the control menu that should be on the top right of your screen. This control panel gives you the option to adjust the volume and most other settings. Our audience will be muted during our session, so in order to ask questions, you'll need to submit text questions in either the chat or the questions window of this control panel. It's now my pleasure to introduce Ken Lowen, our Director of Client Solutions here at Advisicon. So without further ado, I will hand this presentation over so we can get this webinar started.
Thanks very much, Amanda, and welcome everybody to the webinar today. Very glad to be with you, and without any more ado, let's jump on in. Our agenda today, we're going to be talking about some of the considerations in planning a project to deploy and develop business intelligence and dashboards. We're going to talk about what the Power BI tool brings to you. We'll do a brief demo of Power BI, and time permitting, we'll address questions and answers. Please do submit those through your GoToWebinar dashboard, or if we don't have time to get back to them, know that we will respond to you by email after the fact. Before we jump into considerations in planning a dashboard project, I would welcome the opportunity to learn a little bit about you. So let's see what tools you currently use for project management related business intelligence and dashboards. So we've got 5 options on here. Hopefully they're pretty comprehensive. I would love to know what you're using right now so that I can target my remarks as much as possible toward the experience base that you all bring to the conversation. We're getting some good results. Just want to keep this open a little bit longer to allow all of you the opportunity to pick your option du jour. Looks like the results are fairly consistent with times that I have presented this poll in the past. We're just about to come up on a minute there, and we'll let you round out 60 seconds with our submissions. Looks like everybody who's interested in answering has done so. So let me share this with you. So it looks like we've got about half of the participants in the call today are using Excel currently, and then about 20% of each of the rest are split between using third-party tools, using the native dashboards on board in Project Server and Project Online, and about 20% using other onboard tools. And of course, multiple responses were acceptable, certainly, because in many cases, we're going to select the best tool for a particular situation. And I routinely will tell folks that, you know, the largest population of project managers in the world are probably using Excel for project management, and communicating the information about the project that you're managing in Excel using Excel makes a ton of sense. I'm glad to see a wide segment of folks are using some of the other best of breed tools for dashboarding. I think one of the benefits that you've got for using Tableau, Cognos, Business Objects, Power BI is the opportunity to bring other business information into the tool when you are presenting your project management information to your senior stakeholders. So certainly the opportunity to get them comfortable with a particular tool allows you to more effectively communicate your project-related information. Let's move on back into the PowerPoint and take a look at our next topic. So we want to think about what are the challenges that we're being presented with in developing these business intelligence and dashboarding solutions. Are we told just implement a best practices dashboard? Obviously, you know what best practices is, go just do it. Are you being told we've got our project management tool, just turn on all of the dashboards? That's a very common request. Everybody sort of expects that there's a standard set. Senior stakeholders may not have an experience base as to what they want, and so they're expecting that you will be able to deliver a solution that is based on best practices. Are you trying to deal with data that's residing in disparate locations? So you've got distributed data sources. Maybe you're working with the approved budget from your finance organization in a budgeting tool. Are you looking at maybe capturing actuals in your ERP system, your project task status in a PPM platform, potentially your resource hours in a timesheeting system? So that's one of the ways that we would describe our multiple data sources. And then certainly what you want to recognize is that different stakeholder roles are going to have different needs for information. One of the points that I routinely make to folks I'm working with in the development of dashboards is that a project manager typically has got much better, more timely, more accurate information looking forward into the project. Your purchasing organization may be well aware that you have an open PO and that it is good through the end of the fiscal year, but they may not have any information in that PO about what your spending pattern is going to be. And so if you've got an open PO that is not going to be spent on until the fourth quarter and you're in the second quarter and they're seeing that you're not trending in the direction that they would expect, are you at risk of having them claw back some of your funding because they see that you're underspending and they may have a different expectation? So you've certainly got an opportunity in delivering your BI and dashboard solutions to address a problem like that proactively. So if you've got the opportunity to be thoughtful about the solution that you're going to deliver, think about what are the actual results that you want to achieve with business intelligence. Do you want to enable and equip your senior stakeholders to make faster decisions in response to project management issues that you're presenting to them or communicating to them? Do you want to reduce the fact that somebody is going to spend a lot of time digesting information in a traditional status report or from looking at a long list of project tasks or a long list of resources and they stall in the decision making just because of analysis to paralysis? Do you have the situation of repetitive data manipulation? We've all talked about the historic scenario where we're managing our project in Excel or in Microsoft Project Desktop, and we get to the end of the week and we now need to create a status report. So we export information, import it into Excel, import it into PowerPoint, make it look all pretty. As soon as we take a first look at that first slide, we get some great insight because a picture really is worth 1,000 words, and we have to drill back into our project schedule, correct the error that we had in there, re-export the information, and so on and so forth. Or are you having the constant issue that resources are being reduced in your area and it's now difficult to retain the free flow of information with fewer people available to manage it? So all of these are very real reasons why you may want to be focusing on developing and deploying business intelligence and dashboarding, is because it can make you more efficient and more effective at communicating more and more complex messages with the same resources, or maybe even with reduced resources. So let's take a look at what Power BI brings us as a tool set for helping to address these various needs. What do I want you to know about Power BI? Well, first of all, it's an online service. So we can quickly create dashboards containing a screen full of information that is relevant to a stakeholder group, and multiple dashboards, each of which is relevant to its own target audience. And we can capture important data from a variety of data sources, and we can share this information broadly. Not only do we have that online service, it's supported by native applications. So depending on whichever platform we're looking to communicate on, mobile platforms or Windows-based PCs and tablets, we can support those communication needs with an application that is itself optimized for work in that particular environment. We've also got the Power BI desktop that runs on a Windows PC. Or I've had a good experience with clients working on Macs using a virtualization technology like Parallels and running either Project or Power BI desktop in that environment. Assuming you've got a powerful enough Mac, I've seen good results from that. And Power BI, thereby, it extends BI to everybody. So the model that Microsoft was wanting to address and has addressed in doing this is overcoming the historic reliance that we had to have on a data engineer, somebody who is overworked and underavailable, who has their own prioritization. They may have a wide variety of reporting responsibilities, and putting it in the hands of us for self-service, so that we're able to analyze the data that we are familiar with, so that when we look at it, we see patterns that may not be as obvious to that data analysis expert, and then communicate it to give messages, to deliver messages that we're familiar with, so that it reduces the time to develop and deliver, and hopefully it improves the quality of that communication, because we understand our projects and should be better at communicating the insights that can be derived from our dashboards. So that's what you should know about it in terms of the capabilities. What should you think about doing with Power BI? Well, one thing that's not immediately evident, or you may not think about, is you can directly import Excel spreadsheets into your Power BI model. And in fact, the data connection setup in Power BI is identical to that in Excel. So if you've got experience developing data connections in Excel already, you can translate that knowledge and experience that you have directly over to Power BI. If you don't have that experience yourself, but you've got a model that was developed for you, with lots of sweat and tears, you can import that and move forward with it in Power BI, so that you're not having to take 2 steps backwards in order to advance. Power BI allows you to explore your data. You can drill sideways, you can segment it in a variety of ways in order to really try to figure out, well, what are the insights I can derive from my data, using powerful tools for looking at that. You can monitor your data live from its data sources, so that you're more current and more up to date with what's going on in your particular environment. Now that can come at a cost, so you want to make sure that you are not implying an unnecessary currency of your data, just as you also want to avoid the mistaken picture of precision when you've got, for example, hours calculations or cost calculations in a project that are segmented down to the minute or to the penny. remember that your project schedule starts off as an estimate, and your project resources are likely giving you actuals that are in fact themselves estimates, or based off of maybe gross segmentations of the work that they've done. So you want to make sure that you are not communicating to somebody, well, this is up to date as the minute, when in fact you've updated from the data source, but your resource is updated as of 3 days ago or the previous Friday or whatever is appropriate there. So make sure that you are communicating appropriately and understanding the technology in that way. You can access your data in the cloud. So Power BI enables you to get at data in cloud sources. You can also go to data that is residing in on-premise environments. And so Power BI provides you with a free enterprise gateway that will allow you to build those connections to things like your on-premise SQL Server databases, or to on-premise SAP, or something similar to that. So the point there is that your project data, as I mentioned in an earlier slide, can be integrated and presented along with data from other sources that make sense in combination with it. So now that we know what we can do, where do we start? I'm frequently posed that question, sort of the solution to analysis to paralysis in business intelligence. Prioritize your low-hanging fruit. What are the quick results that you can get? What are the things that may consume a lot of your status reporting time that you want to offload onto a tool that's going to allow you to set up one set of data connections, one standard template for reporting, and then free up a lot of time so that you can sit back and think about what are the more complex analyses that you want to do. What are the reports where you have the best understanding of the data? You'll be more quick to develop a solution if you understand the data and you understand the types of messages that you're supposed to be getting out of the data, than if you've got a pile of data and you don't really understand how to segment it, how to aggregate it, how to communicate the messages. So traditionally we found a lot of timesheet data is infrequently reported by project managers, and if you're wanting to do that, you may find that that's something that is best put off to a second phase, unless it's your particular high priority for delivery. What are the least complex calculations? So if you've got to do some complex formula development, you may want to deprioritize that. And then, as noted, prioritize your notable pain points. What are the things where people are constantly coming into your office and saying, I really need your help to analyze this, or I need you to sort through this information, or something like that. If you can offload those interruptions onto a dashboard that's going to serve the needs of your constituents, then you'll be more efficient at the more complex analyses. So Power BI is a collection of apps and connectors and software services that work together to pull together all those disparate information sources on the left side of the screen, aggregate, summarize, and communicate those in effective manners in the dashboard on the right side. The tools that comprise that are the desktop at upper left that we use for doing our data modeling, identifying where are we going to get the information from, which is the information that we want, what types of transformations do we have to make to that data in order to make it ready for our analysis. We move that into the Power BI service. This is the web service where we pull information from a report into a dashboard. And think about the dictionary definition of a dashboard, the information that fits on a single screen, bringing a group of single coherent messages to our stakeholders. So you want to aggregate in a particular dashboard the information that's centered around a particular topic for a particular target audience. And then you can easily present different segments of that same data to different target audiences, either organized in different manners or aggregated with other information that makes sense to them. And then your dashboards are able to be communicated also via mobile clients. So let's take a look at our actual Power BI right now. I'm going to bring across a dashboard right now in the web service. And this is a dashboard that it mimics information that was delivered for a particular client. The CIO of this organization actually modeled out in Excel. These are the charts that I would like delivered on my enterprise PMO dashboard. And in the back of the Excel workbook, we had the root calculations where he had mocked up data. So we knew what our end state looked like. And in navigating in Power BI desktop, when I'm on a dashboard, each one of these white boxes that you can see here is elevated here from a particular report, or else it's an entire page of a report. And we choose to elevate these in order to make this dashboard for our stakeholder group. I've also put a tile up here that is elevated from one of my dashboards that is a date last refreshed indicator, so that my target audience understands, well, how current or outdated is this information. When I click on a particular visualization, I'm taken to the page of the report from which that visualization was promoted. And you can see down at the bottom of the page, I've got the individual tabs of this report. So it makes a single coherent set of project management information or project and portfolio status information that I've elevated key indicators to my stakeholder group. I'm going to bring across the desktop client right now, and we're going to take a look at the environment in which we create a new report. So we start off in the desktop client with a blank slate here. And we go into Get Data. And in Get Data, we are able to select the data sources that we want to bring in our project management information or our other related information, because this certainly is not limited to being a project management dashboard. But we can bring in from a variety of databases, we can bring in from local files that we have access to, we can bring in from multiple Power BI models or Azure or online information sources. And this list is constantly being expanded by Microsoft. So once we've started with the getting data, what we do is we build a set of what are called queries. And so you'll see over on the left side over here, I've got a set of queries of information. And so I write a query to pull data out of the various data sources. This happens to be a reference table of dates that I use to relate different information in my other queries to each other so that it understands how a calendar works. This is a query that goes against project data in my project online information. And so I'm constantly able to update the information based on the current state of the projects when the project managers update them. Once I've created all of these data queries, I build a relationship between those data queries so that I can then reference that project baseline data I tell it is tied to project data. And I do 1, 2, and 3 day classes that will walk you through how to do this. And we target in a 1-day class actually doing a single page project status report. So we drill down into the project online information. We understand what it is, how to access it in our own environment, what types of transformations do we need to make to the source data in order to make it ready for our project. And then we end the day with that status report that we can then use to communicate in a PMO meeting by just selecting a project from a drop-down and selecting that particular project that we want to report on without having to manually do individual PowerPoint slides for each particular project. Project Online also makes it very simple as a data source for me to create an earned value report. There are certainly several translations I have to do of the data in order to make it ready to communicate here. And that's one of those examples, such as I talked about earlier, of prioritizing projects where you're familiar with the information. You as a project manager understand the earned value calculations and how the model works, such that you would understand if this information is inaccurate in the way that it's being presented on a dashboard. You might have to spend, in a traditional business intelligence environment where you're working with a developer, you might have to spend a lot of time specifying how this information has to be translated in a way that you're not necessarily familiar with, in order to make that result come out as easily as this one ended up coming out. So I can graphically communicate to my audience the relationship between actual cost, earned value, and planned cost in this particular model for my target audience. There is a wealth of information out there that I can present, and sometimes you want something that is as simple to conceive of as a rows and columns table. But again, the graphic representation, a picture really is worth 1,000 words to understand that our actual costs are coming in right on plan, and that we are underrunning our earned value, or our earned value is exceeding planned costs. So we want to have a really good handle of that information in order to deliver to our clients. Once we've developed these reports in our desktop tool, we then publish to the web browser and determine, do I want, like this is displaying, a single full page as my dashboard, or do I want to take a particular element off of the page, one of these individual tiles of information, and promoting that to the dashboard, as we saw in our example dashboard here for our representative chief information officer. Either way is appropriate. Both have their uses. And so as you're thinking through your project, again, start with the end game in mind, figure out what the needs are that are being addressed, and take a cautious and careful and well thought out approach to prioritizing your work, so that you are able to deliver the most highly prized solutions, both those that are valued by your target audience, as well as those that are going to free up your time for developing some of the more complex solutions that are going to take time. You definitely want to be able to be seen to deliver value quickly. Two more things about Power BI. You should expect that your audience is going to quickly assimilate the information you present in the first set of dashboards and start asking questions they didn't even know existed before. So plan to be agile and iterative. Don't expect that delivering on their first request is going to satisfy them for very long. Second, Microsoft is constantly developing this tool, making new capabilities available. One of the latest and greatest is a Visio visualization. So that allows us to go beyond these pie charts and stacked bar charts and combination charts to communicating information graphically with the freeform capabilities to draw on the Visio palette. That's an awful lot of fun, provides a very powerful capability to integrate, for example, process modeling and business intelligence. So look forward to talking with you more about this another time in the future. But at this point, we are running up against our time, and so I'm going to hand you back to Amanda to wrap us up for today.
Thanks, Ken. And thank you, everyone, for attending today's webinar, How to Leverage Power BI to Build Dashboards and Reports. We welcome your questions, suggestions, and feedback. And for more information, you can email us at contact@advisicon.com. Once you exit today's webinar, you will receive a survey on the presentation, and you will need to complete and submit the survey in order to receive your PDUs. From there, you will receive a follow-up email within 2 business days with your PDU information. So on behalf of Advisicon, Ken, and myself, thank you for joining us today, and we hope to see you participate in future webinars. Hope you have a great rest of your day, everyone.